Hey everyone, it is March 26th, 2025. Welcome back. And been a few days, I think maybe 4 or 5 days since I did an update video. Didn't mean for it to take so long, but there were just a lot of things I needed to do. So right now we are looking at our original scene, but I've organized things. So now we do have this folder here, the Cursed Village folder, and the Shared Assets folder, and I'm going to go through how I've organized things for reuse, some additional features I've created for the characters, and most importantly, the process and workflow I've made to convert VRChat avatars to Warudo versions or VTuber versions pretty much instantly from the same Unity project. So I never have to leave this Unity project, but we're going to go through that now. I'm going to throw a lot at you. So we'll start with our prefabs here. So in here, we have a VRChats folder, and these are all the characters I've worked on before. So you can see them right here. We have Daro and all the other characters. I've seen them quite a few times now, so nothing too much visually that's different, but we do actually have a emulator. So right here, and I can show you one cool feature I've made. So basically, the hands and the face. In VRChat, you can get a little bit more life out of things because there's grab or hand poses. And I'm making that quite literally because they do actually, I guess I'll do the right hand so you can see it. They do actually make those motions, which is really nice. Let me actually move him down a little bit so you can see his hand. And you can see we're making these hand gestures. So I did some animations for these and set up a little flow chart so that things will move in like a natural speed. It's not like an instant popping, and we can get these nice poses. As well, you probably already saw it, but we do have some facial expressions too. So generally in VRChat, when people are making hand poses, that controls some facial expressions. It's just kind of a quick way to make responsive expressions, especially for people who don't have face tracking. So pretty important to have this. So we can do stuff like this, like confusion, sadness. I believe if I do these two, we get anger, and just some nice general expressions, kind of like the base emotions, right? So the player will be able to manually turn those on and off and just make some nice responses to things. Now, additionally, in the expressions menu, we can actually turn that off. So now that we've turned it off, you'll see I'm sliding through the gestures, and there's no facial expressions now. So whoever's playing does have the option to turn these on and off. We also, of course, have the disable clothing toggle from before. And then we also have this manual expressions puppet. I really like this. This is a slightly different way to control expressions compared to normal gesture-based workflows. But you can kind of point in a direction, and that will blend between all these different expressions. So up we have happy, down we have sad. Left is shock, right is anger, and then upright is this kind of smirk, and downright is confusion. And then I believe top left is top left is sadness. Top left. There should be one more, but I can't. I think it's actually just. Sorry, it's just six expressions. So 4 plus 2, yeah, just 6. So that's all of them right there. But this gives a lot of subtle control. You can be standing there and kind of blend between them. You can even make his eyebrows do the wave. Pretty cool. And of course, if you don't want that, you just put it right back in center, click, and then you're done. Or you could reset your avatar if there's something going on. But all the characters have this. All of them have gestures, facial expressions, and ways to control those facial expressions, which is super awesome and very, very, very useful. Now, one of the cool things about that is when I'm setting these characters up is sharing the assets between them. So rather than updating them one at a time, I've created some prefabs here. So these two here. This top one is the villager outfit. So that's the shared toggle for turning the clothing on and off for these characters. All of these characters share that exact toggle, and it's a prefab. So if I made adjustments to this, like change the type of animation, every character, so for example, Gilly, if I open up her hierarchy, it's Gilly, she's kind of hidden right now, but if I open up her hierarchy, you can see she has the exact same prefab. VRCF, villager outfit, and it also has this child object here. Now, the village outfit is specifically for the villagers, so I've saved that prefab here in the Cursed Village project. Here, so we have this prefab right here. And so that's saved there, and it's kind of specific to just this particular setting. You know, there's not really going to be, for the most part, any other setting that's using these specific assets in that way. But for the expressions, which are also getting added through a prefab, now this is a prefab within a prefab. A little confusing, I know, but basically this shared expression one exists in this collection. This is where we actually have the file saved. And what's cool about this is, characters outside of the Cursed Village project can use these same assets. And so when I start updating these prefabs, improving them, make them a bit higher quality, those changes are going to be propagating through my previous projects and into my future ones. So it kind of gives me a really good place to stand and build, like a really solid foundation for making all of my work extend as far as it can. So we have the gestures here. We got the toggles for the expressions. A lot of what I just showed you visually, this is the logic for it, or how we're actually injecting it into the avatar. There's even a blinking. So if I enter play mode, and this is another thing I had to add, actually. In fact, all the expressions and stuff, those are custom animations. So I had to go back in Blender and add those. It's on stream, but just to kind of summarize for the video here, that's a lot of what it is. You can just see she blinks there, and he blinks there. Very cool, super useful, again, because there's just one core chunk of work that every other character I'm making is benefiting from. And that's a trend that will continue, because I don't want to have to really redo the same thing multiple times. And you can see in here we have tons of animations. All the gestures are saved. And again, this is in this shared assets folder. So we can have other projects. So in the future, we might have Cursed Village and, let's say, Elf City or something like that, Elven City. And those would be separate projects in separate folders. But a lot of the characters in there might still use the shared assets. And so especially for things like eyes, I don't need to make specifically, there's not really going to be a difference between a human blue eye and an elf blue eye. So we're sharing those resources. I think it's probably clear now, but just to kind of drive that home. But this did take a bit of time to set up, and then also just troubleshooting things and going, what is the best way to break things up, how to add them together. That's kind of what led to this double prefab thing, where I can have a shared resource for a specific project and then a shared resource for all my projects. So by nesting these two, I can blend together these shared resources and make sure that I'm partitioning them correctly. All right. So, but the main thing I spent the last few days working on, especially the last two, is Warudo. So maybe 2 weeks ago, I was creating VTuber versions of all the avatars, or last week I definitely was. Takes a lot of time. I was making a VRM version and a VSF version, and then eventually a Warudo version. After some testing and a lot of research and just kind of debugging things, what I realized is the VRM version and the VSF version, I just don't need them. I assumed I needed them for the creation of a Warudo VTuber, but that's actually not the case. You can take standard Unity characters, exactly like these characters set up, exactly like VRChat, and those are ready to go. there's a little bit more to that to make sure you can inject it into the Warudo framework. But basically, let's see. Basically, I had two projects. So I had my version of Unity. Erase that and use blue, and we'll make it. Okay. So I had my one version of Unity here. And then when I was doing the VRM, VSF, and Warudo, I had literally, and this is not an exaggeration in any way, 3 other versions of Unity. So we had my main VRC one, and then the VSF, and the VRM, and the Warudo, and all of these files need to be shared with each other and then brought back into my VRC version, which is just awful. But now I've gotten rid of the other 2 and I'm just working with just the Warudo version. I'm just going to do WAR. So now I just have this one version. Now I mainly work in the VRChat version, and it's still a huge pain to transfer files back and forth between them. So I wanted to automate that. And I took a pass at it about a week ago, last week. It didn't quite approach it correctly. I wasn't sure exactly how to automate things, but I have succeeded now. So what's even cooler about this is I don't even have to touch the Warudo version. The Warudo version exists on its own, and it's basically invisible. And it just goes one way. So basically, when I'm in the VRC project, I just go, give me a Warudo version of this prefab, and it's going to send it over. There's a lot of coding that I use to make that. I couldn't really get into the details of it. I used a lot of cursor or AI for it, so I have a general understanding when I'm looking at the code, but I have a hard time describing it. The one really cool thing that I learned about that process is that Unity, and probably most software, but this was new knowledge to me, but Unity specifically, you can run through command line. So right here, in fact, I have some examples open, but through command line, so you can basically call Unity. It's not as simple as this, but Unity run converter. It's not as simple as that, but you can actually just call it directly through that. And not only that, but Unity can open the command line, inject instructions into it, and that's how I use to interface with my other version of Unity. So basically what I do is I tell this version of Unity, hey, here's the location. So I'll LOC, location of my prefab. Boom. And then I give it a target or directory, a folder. I'll just draw a little folder for this. And I tell it, so I give it a location for what I want to convert and the folder I want it to put the converted version in. Pretty straightforward. There was a lot more pain in learning a lot of this, but I definitely feel powerful because it just simplifies so much. So now the reason where these characters are set up in this scene here is we're just going to have a blank scene most of the time so that people can upload. So when I give people the Gumroad package or the Unity package, they're just going to, if they're uploading for VRChat, they just go to Curse Village. Right here, prefabs, VRChat, they grab one of the characters they want, drop it in, VRChat SDK. Oh, that looks a lot better. And then upload their character. Super cool. All right, so that's a little bit of a tangent from the Warudo stuff. But now when I want to convert it, when I want to convert my stuff, so I'm just going to do, I'm going to do the werewolf. I've already converted them, but I just want to show how simple it is. I can do batch selections where I can convert all of them. We'll just do one though. So I select it, go to my custom VR Forge script, and convert prefab to Warudo. Boom. It opens a command line, and right now, although we don't see it, it is interfacing with the Warudo specific project. And there's some other cool things about that. First is like, you can see it's already bringing it back in. But first thing is, Unity projects can share directories, or you can tell it to pretend that another Unity project's directory is part of its own. So when Warudo's looking at this prefab and converting it, it's still sampling all the assets I have in here, all the textures, all the meshes, all the animations, blend shapes, everything in my original project. I don't need to send any files. I don't need to send any files back. It is just doing the logic and processing, but it's not actually, I don't know. Again, not sharing files, which takes a long time, just moving. I mean, if I did all of these characters, it's literally like 1.5 gigabytes, 1.5 gigabytes for all these characters. So you can imagine how slow that would normally be. But we're here. We got our werewolf mod. If I click the project, you can see we refresh, and now we have our werewolf. Let's open up a Warudo, and I'm just going to drop them in. Please let this work. It should be working. It's worked all day, but once you put on the camera, there's a good chance it just breaks. So, yeah, loading. Blah blah blah. I need to open the characters folder because I have to drag my finished Warudo version into the characters folder, and that's where we're going to load the project from. That's fine. That's because I deleted the characters earlier. And now we have them back. Boom. There's perfect. Nice. All right. Yeah. So this is actually with just there's no tracking happening in Warudo right now. It's just listening to my microphone, and one of the additional things I added to the character are vicemes, which are mouth shapes. So the shapes you make, like ooh, ah, e, those sounds and shapes correspond to each other, and so I've added some to this guy here, which makes him feel a lot more responsive, which I like. And it is literally that simple now. I know there's certainly an investment up front to spend time making this converter, but holy moly, this is going to save me not just hours, not just days, but probably months of work over the course of time. Because if I'm making a lot of characters, like right now, you saw how fast that was, probably less than a minute to get the VTuber in. With the manual, traditional way of doing it, it's probably 1 hour round trip. So if I do 20 characters, I am comparing 20 minutes to 20 hours. And if I plan to do hundreds and hundreds of characters, yeah, you get it. But I feel a little proud that I found a way around that. And mostly just relieved. All right. But we'll call it there. So that's what I've done. I'm going to go ahead and get these files uploaded on the Gumroad, and then we'll start parceling them out and making product pages. And that'll probably be most of tomorrow, is actually working on the Gumroad. Been wanting to get to it all week, but now I actually have what I need in place to quickly iterate, quickly make changes, and not want to die. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.